huge savage tour around Paris.
The important thing about the axis, though, is that it traces history, orients culture. Absolutely savage. Just show you a little taste of what it's like. There's a policeman, he's armed. I'm sure he would stop me. That guy would surely stop me. And he'd say, Louis Wad, not so fast. Napoleon's great army won at Austerlitz. So he's saying, let's keep it going, let's roll this west, yo. We're going to enter La Défense from the axial approach. Savage. The axis just went to shit. Very savage choices. The world of possibilities open everywhere. Creepy down there. The top it's like good luck, eh? It would be my dream to run down the middle of the Chantier. Is it gonna come to that? What's up? It's Louis Wad. This is the tower, the church, Saint-Germain, l'Auxerrois. We are starting a running tour, the east facade of the Louvre. This fountain here, it's a point extended into a line that then defines a direction. Right along the axis you get the pyramid by IMP in 1989, which was a brilliant design move. King Philippe II Augustus, in about 1190, created the initial Louvre, which was meant to protect Paris from invading Vikings from the west. This perfect pyramid where you can put your finger, give your finger on this axis. Basically in the 16th century it was converted to a palace, and then in the 18th century it became a museum. The axis then goes through another arc. It's the first Arc de Triomphe that goes through, and it's the Carrousel. See, it's under renovation. This first arch actually was the first notion that, look, we want to continue this axis further. There are little grass areas, mazes where you can get lost. Catherine de' Medici decided to make this whole area a royal garden. That axis is thriving. This is the first real view you get of the extended axis. It wasn't until it was redesigned by landscape architect André Le Nôtre that this was open to the public. People literally flocked to it. What makes an axis work when you have a series of objects and spaces and arches is the empty space in between. So the Tuileries serves as a kind of buffer space in between Place de la Concorde, which has a lot of history, including where the executions occurred of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, and is the location today of this obelisk, a gift from Egypt in the 1800s. And this gate is padlocked, but we're still on axis. I can talk a little bit about the Place de Concorde. Initially, it was Louis XV's plaza, designed for him. It's flanked by two Roman-inspired fountains. There's a cross-axis, so it's l'Assemblée Nationale down that way, La Madeleine down this way. All of this happening on axis with the obelisk. So the obelisk is denoting a cross-axis while still continuing the historic axis, east-west. We're doing something absolutely savage. We're not supposed to do this. What's so tempting is to run straight down the axis. It is so tempting. Just show you a little taste of what it's like to be on axis. Now here I can't do it because it comes down to a line. Don't want to get hit by that weird bike thing. The important thing about the axis, though, is that it traces history, orients culture. This is the Grand Palais, the big palace. It's the gold dome of the Invalides. When we talk about this historic axis, it's a device to organize urban design and the multitude of activities that happen around the axis. As long as you have points along the way and openings, the axis can continue. The axis morphs over time. For example, the bike was an addition in recent years to Paris. There are a lot of bike lanes now. At some point it has to get savage. Again, we're going into the future. All the restaurants, cafes, once you have an axis to preserve and make special, if it's a street, it becomes the most special street in the city. And on either side of that street, not only how the street is treated in terms of the axis of circulation, cars, bikes, people on the sidewalk, once we get to the Arc de Triomphe, you're seeing yet another permutation on what do you do with an axis. There is an encouragement to go further, and the street was named Avenue de la Grande Armée. The Le Nôtre designs of the gardens at Tuileries and later Parc Saint-Cloud and Versailles are about order over nature. It's about forcing a symmetry, creating a hill if there's not one there. So they created this slope. But that's how Le Nôtre did it. He could take vast lengths of land and ever so slightly slope it. The axis is treated in yet an entirely different way at the roundabout. This is a geometric marvel because there are 12 streets radiating out from the center of the Arc de Triomphe. So the three arcs, the arc next to the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe, and then la Grande Arche de la Défense. As a temporary sight barrier, a trunk. This is utterly brilliant because people come to this street for the high-end shopping. It's an architectural piece unto itself that speaks to people, and it's yet another object. Think of it, it's attached to this importance of this axis. Great idea. A military ceremony is underway under the Arc de Triomphe right now. One day ago, on May 8th, was the celebration of the end of World War II, which included the French president coming up the axis because the historic axis is actually still creating history. That's where the tomb of the unknown soldier was lit in 1921, and that is still now an epicenter of cultural and really human interaction. You can't run through the tomb of the unknown soldier. I mean, I might put out the fire, but I'm so tempted to just sprint across there. There's a policeman, he's armed. I'm sure he would stop me. That guy would surely stop me. And he'd say, Louis Wad, not so fast. In order to get to the other side, we got to get out of this and go around where they have you go under. It's created one of the most important intersections in the world. You know, it's this physical form. Space goes through it. They've even flown airplanes through that before. Haussmann came in, who was the urban planner who carved out larger and larger swaths of space. You got to go down these stairs. It's part of the axis at this point. You got to run the whole length. We're underneath right now. This is how you get into the Arc de Triomphe. Behind this way you can see Renzo Piano's Hall of Justice. But I'm going to do a quick lap around all the views down all the axial streets. The French flag, where is it? It's on the axis. It's floating in the space that's created. So originally the Arc de Triomphe was telling tales of victory at Austerlitz in 1806. Carved into the walls is the typical kind of war memorial you might see. What about this monument makes it so incredible is that it's also a key piece of this axis and a key piece of the urban design of Paris. It facilitates a roundabout, which is how traffic is handled in European cities, which is more fluid. It allows you to shoot off the... excusez-moi. You can consider it one of the most successful. As a war memorial public monument, this guy's saying no again. I gotta go back out of here. Sorti. It's much more open now than the Champs-Elysees. It's the same dimension, same proportions. Champs-Elysees has multiple layers. There's a bus stop layer, there's a moped parking layer, there's a taxi line, and those striations in the axis are happening longitudinally along the axis. Napoleon's great army won at Austerlitz, so he's saying, let's keep it going, let's roll this west, yo. You're going to see the glorious axial view right now, the back, if you want to call it, of the Arc de Triomphe that looks towards the future.
At this part my camera wasn't working right, so I had no audio, but I was talking about how this part of the Avenue de la Grande Armée is really starting to become more modern. Here you see a building where they're playing with the windows popping in and out, all glass, essentially facing the avenue. On the south side, you're seeing more modernism. Here we're coming up to the edge of Porte Maillot. Porte Maillot was really completely renovated recently. There's a new tram station. The sidewalks are wider. They've added some green spaces. They've reduced the car circulation and added bike lanes. It's much more open than before, and it really provides a better accessibility for everyone. There's a park called Square Alexandre et René Parodi. Here you see where they renovated, took away some of the lower areas, kind of underpasses and things that were really just leading to Creepy Town. Here you're on axis with the Arc de Triomphe still. And so they've reclaimed the axis and made it more open. They even added some grass parterre here where I get to run across the sprinklers and the new grass. It felt really great underfoot. And there you get to see the Christian de Portzamparc's Palais des Congrès, which is an exposition center, like an expo hall there for conferences and things like that. It is much more accessible. So this is the edge of the city. Now the axis dips under. There's a tunnel. So you have to go off axis. And now at this part of the tour, I'm noting how the axis has different striations longitudinally, which means there's different treatments along that axis. Now they're adding a sort of buffer of planting here, and new trees and new shrubbery, and changing all the lanes of circulation with the cars so that they're layers and buffer zone from what used to be a pretty chaotic thoroughfare now, which has a lot of carefully thought out little moments along the axis. There are new bus stops, there's new little driveways where you can do parallel parking. There are other infrastructural works going on with bike parking and things like this. This is the marketplace at Neuilly-sur-Seine, which is every Saturday they have a farmer's market. And as you can see, I was running along, it was quite a long stretch here. You still are seeing a lot of work going on to the infrastructure, all in the name of trying to really improve the parts of the axis along this side of Neuilly, which were really kind of inhumane in the sense it was just a thoroughfare of cars. Now you have new elevators going down to parking garages below and little parks and carefully designed stone paving. There's a whole variety of different features there. And soon I'll be getting here to the end of the park that was cut off.
You can see the arch down there, and it goes into a tunnel. So the axis now is taking yet another turn. It's a great modern example, just absolutely Miesian in its scale, the detailing of the steel. Let's get a better look here as we run around. We still don't know how it's going to be as a pedestrian to get to the mythic city of La Défense. Series of striations along the axis that are treated in various ways. Here's yet another one. It's become a little driveway with parking on one side to deal with the fact that we have to be cut off because that's where the bridge is happening. So this is a hard edge. It gives you even more privacy when you're sitting out here at the sidewalk cafes. So les allées de Neuilly. The big arch of La Défense. Oh, it looks like the myth of Sisyphus. Caught in a non-pedestrian area. The axis just went to shit. Can't go that way, but you get that nice western light. Subtle curve of that facade gives it just the scale it needs. With the structure expressed through the paneling and the curves, the rest of it is a different vocabulary. It's this white grid, very nice detail as well. Have glass corners, and that wraps around the more tower-like piece. These are sections of roadway. You can actually see down that detail. So this is an upstand. You can see that they're all sloped down. So this is the roadway. There's the camber of that going over. It would be my dream to run down the middle of the chantier, going straight to the arch, savagely. Is it gonna come to that? Anyway, we've got to go the way they want us to go. Savage, savage. This is the most savage part I've seen yet. I'm running the wrong way on the bike lane next to some concrete culverts. Some creepy town down there. Whew. Behold, let's just borrow the bike lane because these lanes are all like, there's a man on the ground, then there's striations. Along the axis, the striations go out parallel. That's longitudinal. Crossing the Seine River, leaving Neuilly, and we're going to enter La Défense from the axial approach. And then, man, it's like, go fucking, good luck. My only choice is to run in the bike lane. very savage choices. The axis is that way, and it's blocked off by a fence. This part of the axis goes crazy as you're going across now to La Défense. The world of possibilities open everywhere. There are offshoots, underpasses, overpasses. There's a long ramps, treed embankments. The actual axis is broken down into a crazy confluence of striations. You have the Line 1 train coming down the middle behind those savage fences over there, going again into a tunnel. You have a car circulation parallel to it, adjacent to it, going under into the tunnel. You have a whole wide area of circulation, and the scale has suddenly gotten huge. And down below becomes a spaghetti of roads. We're to another fountain. Fantastic detail right here of dealing with the expansion. This piece is attached to this slab. And there's an underpiece attached to this other slab, and they move in that tolerance. They've got tables set up on the stairs, specially designed tables. You can sit on the stairs. You got ducks in the pond. This open plaza, water which could give you evaporative cooling in the summer, calming effects of being around water. The tables on the stairs, right on the axis. It's an oversized bench. It's right on the axis, and you can look back to the past. Interesting. Whereas the future is that way. Soft grass. It's savage brutalism from the 60s, but look at how extravagant it is. Bull nose curving around. Oh, that's beautiful. This is just how you're supposed to see brutalism. The top is fallen into creepy town. It's getting colder. Oh, it's dark. Oh, it's dark. I want to go back to the brutalism. But now they've got me in some no man's land. The building's savagely linear. It ends in a garden, so it's on pilotis. Gives us a chance to go under and see the other details of the concrete. Oh, God, that's epic. Great example of concrete work. Really expressive. Strong commitment to simplicity. We can see it in the context of the axis. We're now in the future. Keeps going up, and now we're getting to a nightclub kind of vibe right here on the axis. Sculpture called La Défense. Really feel like we've arrived now. Once again, water element. And you see further down there's a waterfall, and then it goes down no man's land, aka creepy town. The axis is marked by a water drainage grill that is perfectly linear. This freedom to run right down the axis is over. The axis is blocked by an object. It's the metro. And now the final stretch toward the Grand Arch. And it's next to the first building that was built here, but back to the arch now. It's open and as savage as they can make it. Let's keep going to the future. Let's, within our arch, put the most technologically advanced design we can. This time of year, the sun sets through the arch. Finally, we get the final view back from the ultimate height. The sun setting through beautifully done glass windbreaks that allow you to filter out. Look at the way that people flock to see. I finally can stop running. I'm at the end of the axis. Unless they've opened that jetty down there, we can't go any further. There's a fence. This is the end of our tour. The sun's setting right over the axis. It's a great pleasure to have given you this tour. This is Louis Wad signing off. I don't have to sign off, man. I made it to the near future. Out that way is the future. We're gonna go further in another video, but getting you to this part of the axis, there's a whole new area over there that didn't exist. There's a lot to explore that way in the next video. This is Louis Wad signing off. I hope you enjoyed the video.